Now, I'm gonna be honest, man, last time we had made a video about this sort of thing, I didn't really think it had any wheels. I didn't think this would be something we'd be revisiting just a few weeks down the line, and I thought that the PNG file that I made, doing the jersey swap and everything, was all gonna be a one thumbnail type of deal. I didn't think I'd have to use it again. But today, we are doing so. We are talking about a topic between two Canadian teams, how Jeff Marek on the 32 Thoughts podcast had himself a segment where he mentioned a pretty peculiar link between the two. Obviously, you know from the title, we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks, we are talking about the Edmonton Oilers, and we're talking about Canucks current captain Bo Horvat. And whether or not the team in Alberta, just one province over, could be his long-term home. Take a look at what Jeff Marek said on the latest edition of the 32 Thoughts podcast. One person mentioned to me on Saturday as well that he can see Edmonton as a long-term fit for Bo. 2, he's amenable to going there, and 3, who knows about the future of their big two dogs, specifically Leon Draisaitl, who's a couple of years away from UFA status. Now, this is a small tweet, but it has a few implications behind it. Firstly, Bo Horvat over to Edmonton as a thing, long-term for Bo. Secondly, Leon Draisaitl in Edmonton not being a long-term thing. Also, that second point that I wanted to talk about there, he's amenable to going there. What does that word mean? Well, amenable, just in case you need the thing, and I'm doing this for myself, honestly, is when a person is open, compliant, and or responsive to a suggestion. And so, what Jeff Marek is saying here pretty much is that somebody told him that Bo Horvat would be okay to going to the Edmonton Oilers. And my question, first and foremost, is why? Like, you see how the Vancouver Canucks are run? You talk about how this team has been so stagnant? You talk about how the Canucks have not really progressed forward? Well, Edmonton, I mean, newsflash for you, buddy. Edmonton is sort of in a similar boat. Now, I get it. They had themselves a really good run last year. They made the third round. They got swept by Colorado. It was whatever, but they're kind of looking to aim higher, right? But take a look at where the Oilers are in the standings, and this is a team that outside of their top 6, they really haven't showcased all too much to be excited for in the long-term future. It's interesting to me how a guy like Bo, who has already been a part of such a stagnant organization in Vancouver, would be amenable to spending the rest of his days in a team like Edmonton, where they really haven't done much either. Now, I get it, they've done more than Vancouver, but still. Also, when you take a look at the idea that a guy like Leon Draisaitl could be on his way out of Edmonton, and a guy like Bo could be quote-unquote the replacement, like, bro, I'm gonna go out there and say this right here. If you're thinking that Leon Draisaitl can leave, Bo Horvat can go over to Edmonton, and everything's gonna be fine and dandy, I'm sorry, but they are not the same caliber of player. Not in the slightest. Like, I can tell you one thing as a Canucks fan who has been on the West Coast this entire time. Every time an Oilers game is on TV, which is quite frequently here in these parts, you talk about Draisaitl, you talk about McDavid, these guys are an entirely different stratosphere than Bo Horvat. This idea that Bo, just because he's on a 60-goal pace this year, and he's on pace for, 91 points, just to think that he's having this type of a season now, and he's so good that he can really replace Draisaitl, like, no, that's not the case here. I mean, we talked about this yesterday in the Rutherford video where Jim talked about the contract offer for Bo and what the Canucks have on the table. The Canucks have an offer for Bo that is compliant with what Bo has been up to this year. Rutherford admitted that the offer that the Canucks have for Horvat is not corresponding to the player that Bo has shown off that he is this year. It's under market value for Bo when you take a look at a 60-goal, 91-point pace caliber guy. And so when it comes to this whole season, I mean, look at the points right here. 48 points, 43 games played. He had 52 points last year. He had 31 goals last year. He's got 30 this year. Bo Horvat is on pace to just absolutely shattering his career highs in points, not assists. He's on pace to match his career high in assists, oddly enough. But goals, he's on pace to absolutely breaking that mold and going above and beyond. They told him, hey, you just gotta break 10 Gs, and he went out there and broke 10.5. It is that impressive. And so, this has been a great year for Bo. arguably maybe one of the best contract years we have seen out of anybody the past few years, just period. But he's not DRAISAITL level good. Straight up. Sure, he's not going to be making DRAISAITL level money, but if you're Ken Holland and the Oilers, I can't believe this idea where it's like, okay, well, we can lose out on DRAISAITL because plan B is just Bo Horvat. Like, you're downgrading your team if that is the case. I'm sorry. I love Bo as much as the next guy, but he's no Leon DRAISAITL. And furthermore, that's not even taking Connor McDavid into the equation. Marek does say it depends on the future of the big two. Who knows if Leon DRAISAITL ends up leaving? Connor McDavid is no guarantee to be sticking around long term either. I mean, I know he's the face of the NHL and everything, and everybody's going to say, okay, yeah, he's probably going to stick around, but that's not guaranteed. Especially at this point, a few years removed from that guy going over to UFA status as well. Everything is relative here, and Leon DRAISAITL, I mean, look, DRAISAITL's contract expires in 2025? $8.5 million a year. We know how good DRAISAITL has been, multiple 100-point player. Go over to Connor McDavid, he expires a little bit further down the line. He's on the books until 2026, and so it's just an extra year that you have to plan out for. Sure, if Connor McDavid is expiring, you could probably just go out there and send, I don't know, $15 million a season for him because he's that good and he wants the title of probably being the highest paid guy in the NHL once again. But for Leon DRAISAITL, I don't really think that you should be thinking about him as an expendable guy, quote unquote, and already pegging in his replacements. Much less having that guy be Bo freaking Horvat from Vancouver. Like, I don't know, just thinking about Bo suiting up for the rest of his career with the Oilers, like, I, like many other Canucks fans, already have to deal with Markstrom, Toffoli, and Tanev suiting up for Calgary. Why talk about Bo going to Edmonton now? Like, it just doesn't feel right. And when I think about the Oilers, I'm not even thinking about center being their primary concern anyway. I'm thinking, okay, well, where's the defense? Where's the bottom six? Why not get a few extra guys that could fill out the meat of that lineup, rather than try to peg in Bo Horvat for next season, thinking about how he can replace DRAISAITL? And there'd need to be some overlap, too. Would you really want to have Bo Horvat, DRAISAITL, and McDavid on your team at the same time for at least 2 seasons and have one of these guys play third-line minutes? Like, Bo already got the third-line center treatment for a time in Vancouver when Miller and Petey were ahead of him on the depth chart. I can't imagine him signing a big-money deal, going over to a team like Edmonton, and all of a sudden getting the same. I'll tell you one thing, if he gets third-line minutes on a team like the Oilers, he's not getting 60-something goals again. He is not getting 90-something points again. This season, we have talked this entire time about how Bo Horvat is pretty much having the best year of his life in terms of his on-ice play. Like, he's not going to be this good ever again. It's just a matter of time before he regresses into being that 60-point caliber guy like he always has been the rest of his career. Now, I'm gonna say this right here as well, just to end off the video. You know, I gotta cover my behind somehow. If Bo Horvat does go over to the Oilers and he becomes the DRAISAITL replacement, he ends up being a 90-point guy every single year, and he gets 55, 60-plus goals every single year. If that happens, then okay. Good for him. I'm just gonna say it's not likely, but if it does, then okay. Good for you for proving me wrong, Bo, because look, I'll admit, it's good seeing more players go out there and do well. We can agree on that, right? It's just, for me, watching Bo Horvat ever since the guy made his debut in 2014-15 with the Vancouver Canucks in his full year under Willie Desjardins, playoffs against Calgary 2015, he was a rookie, he did all this stuff that was 8 years ago. Watching Bo Horvat do all this crap for the past 8 years, this season is really freaking good for him, and it's one that I don't think we're going to see again, but I'd love to be proven wrong. And if the Oilers really do feel like he could be their fit to replace DRAISAITL should DRAISAITL leave 1 year before McDavid is going to be a UFA as well, then be my guest, I guess. I don't know. Talk to the comments on your thoughts about this idea. Marek said it on the 32 Thoughts podcast. Bo Horvat to the Oilers. Is this good? Is this not good? Do you think this is what the Oilers should be focusing on? Do you think they should be focusing on other things instead? Do you think if Bo Horvat ends up going to Edmonton and it's like some sort of a trade, what exactly do the Canucks get in return? I'd been spouting this entire time about why the idea is kind of bad, but I didn't really talk about trades. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.